As a teenager, I was an avid reader of the science fiction genre of novels. I spent my pocket money on books. What I loved most was the promise of the future greater technology and a promised easier lifestyle. The idea that humans could make robots that were as smart as themselves thrilled me. It was exhilarating. Now, half a century later, I am witnessing similar book concepts manifest themselves, increasingly inserting themselves into our mundane world. Let me express my admiration for Isaac Asimov, Jules Verne, and H.G. Wells. As I grew older, my taste in books changed. I found elements of future worlds, extreme technologies, and gadgets in the writings of authors like James Patterson, who wrote about cyber attacks on police stations, David Rorvik, who introduced the concept of human cloning, the Sunday comic strips featuring Dick Tracy's equivalent of the Apple Watch, and George Orwell's description of an authoritarian world where fake news was considered the truth and surveillance was as common as family visits. On September 17th and 18th, 2024, thousands of pagers and electronic handheld devices, radios, walkie-talkies, etc., exploded all over Lebanon. 36 persons died and close to 3,000 were injured. The collateral damage was severe. It was just a matter of time before another piece of the futuristic puzzle fitted into place. It is not unusual for mankind to take a perfectly useful technology and transform it into an instrument of destruction. Ever since humans realized that their grasp should extend beyond their reach, their God complex mode was initiated. The potential of humans to destroy themselves is infinite. There are many lessons to be learned from this tragic chapter in human history. Whether individually or collectively, the citizens of the world need to take stock of the technologies thrust upon them. It is essential to assess the risks associated with the technologies within our homes, offices, and countries. The rapid growth of artificial intelligence, AI, is a prime example. Unregulated and moving at breakneck speed, AI is being embraced without concern for the associated dangers. The ubiquitous cell phones and social media platforms are unregulated and are susceptible to cyber attacks and privacy breaches. Although these deficiencies within the system are known, the mindset of the millennials and Gen Z, who are different from baby boomers and Gen X, makes them more susceptible to peer pressure and FOMO, fear of missing out. In essence, these technologies are here to stay and are all pervasive. The strategies for managing the consequences of the technologies are anyone's guess. In a world increasingly dominated by technology, the lines between convenience and vulnerability are becoming blurred. While the conveniences of technology are well known, what is less known is the casualness and the indifference to the vulnerabilities it brings. Some of the most obvious threats to man are by way of devices such as cell phones, electronic vehicles, EVs, drones, and robot vacuums. Essentially, anything with a programmable chip and an internet connection. Let's consider some examples that barely made the news but ought to be reconsidered in light of recent terrorist events as far away as Lebanon. Let's not for a moment assume that it cannot happen to you. Electric vehicles have chips embedded in them. It is worth noting that any vehicle that can be started remotely has a degree of vulnerability. As long as it can be accessed via cellular connectivity, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth, it can be hacked. Consumer Watchdog has reported on various EV models that are easily hacked. Researchers from Sandia National Laboratories demonstrated how a vehicle's functions can be remotely controlled, such as the brakes and engine, by exploiting vulnerabilities in the vehicle's software. The hacked vehicles essentially become autonomous weapons, wreaking havoc on the streets and putting both the main characters and innocent bystanders in grave danger. Watch the 2017 movie Fast and Furious 8 to visualize and appreciate the risks involved in taking control of an EV for nefarious purposes. EVs rely on a network of charging stations, which could potentially be targeted. For example, hackers could shut down charging stations or disrupt grid infrastructure, leading to large-scale disruptions of EV functionality. Drones are now an integral part of our lives, whether for recreation, work, or military purposes. There have been instances of drones being outfitted with dangerous payloads like explosives or firearms,